Well, come on now. You were doing just fine a minute ago. All right. Well, good evening, Throttle Up Biker Bible Study. How are we doing tonight? Blessed. That's the right word. Either blessed good or blessed out. One or the other. Been both. That's right. Kind of dreary day today, but it wasn't too bad. Liquid sunshine. Oh, good crew tonight. We'll have a few that'll walk in late, and we will make fun. No, I won't make fun of them. But yeah, we probably will. But anyway, so here we are in the book of Numbers still. And I got to looking at it. There's 36 chapters, and we're in chapter 20. So we're over halfway, barely. Some of them get very long. That's right. And there's a couple things I want to say about that after I pray. But we're going to have some more quiz tonight. So we'll be going over the answers first so that when the others get here, we'll actually have the quiz and they won't know the answers. That'll teach them. Anyway, let me open us up in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord God, again, we thank you for this wonderful day, this time that we have to spend together, Lord, studying your word, studying the history of the Israelites. Father, the people that you call your own. Lord, so that we can know what was done so long ago and what Jesus stepped in for so that we don't have to do that. Because, Lord, we couldn't. There's no way we could act like these people do. Simply because that's not in our nature. And that's not the way we were raised. It's not the way that we thought. However, by what Jesus did, we know that we can see these things and know what he did for us. So thank you again for everything that goes on here, all the things you're doing to us, through us, and for us in this place. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to start tonight in Numbers chapter 20. And a couple of things I want to say about this as we start. We're only going to get a couple of verses in, and then we're going to switch gears. Imagine that. So who are we talking about here? This is Moses and Aaron. Who is Aaron to Moses? Right. Which one's older? Aaron's older. Is there another child in that family? Miriam. Are you reading ahead? Is it above my head? Well, the Bible app will work just fine. Make sure you're on the right. Listen. What version are you reading? Okay, that's what this is. Yeah, the headers don't show up on the slides, but my Bible has the headers as well. No, we'll get to Miriam here real quick, but yes, ma'am. Oh, you dropped your okay. That's fine. Thank you. All right, so Numbers chapter 20 and verse 1 says this. It says, "And the people of Israel, the whole congregation," that's the whole group, right? That's when they use that word congregation, "came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed at Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there." Now, hold on. So we said, who is Miriam? So it's Moses' older sister. What was some of the things that we know about her? That she is in the Bible for? She's the one that I know where someone that can feed the baby is. Right, that's correct. Now, most recently, we had another experience with Miriam. Do you remember what that was? Right. Miriam and Aaron both grumbled against Moses, right? Now, keep that in mind because that's going to play a different part here in just a second. Oh, by the way, between chapter 19 and chapter 20, I read somewhere that there's 37 years between those two chapters. Okay? Remember, they're out wandering the desert for 40 years. We don't have a play-by-play, minute-by-minute story here. It jumped 37 years according to these historical figures, whoever they are, right? So whether it's true or not, I don't know, but still, it was a long time, okay? All right, so Miriam has died. Do you know how old she was? It doesn't say it in here, but there is documents outside the Bible that say it. She was 126 years old. 126 years old. Been around a while. Been a thorn in Moses' side for a... Sorry, had to. Verse 2. And now there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves together against Moses and Aaron, and here they go grumbling again. We ain't got no water. How many times have we heard that? A few times, right? As a matter of fact, it's not in there. Let me just jump back here to Exodus chapter 17. I'm just going to read a few verses out of Exodus chapter 17. Look, it says, all the congregation of the people of Israel moved on from the wilderness of Sin by stages, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled against Moses and said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? But the people thirsted there for water, and the people grumbled against Moses and said, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moses cried out to the Lord, what shall I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, pass on before the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go, and behold, I will stand before you there on a rock at Horeb, or Horeb, some people say, and you shall strike the rock. I'm bringing this up for a reason, okay? So, and the water shall come out of it, and the people will drink. So God told Moses to strike the rock with his staff. Yes, sir. I've heard that before. The water still comes out of that rock. Yes. In Horeb or Horeb. Near the desert of Sinai. That's all I can say. All right. So now back to Numbers chapter 20, verse 3, right? And the people quarreled with... I just read this in Exodus. And the people grumbled with Moses and said, would that we had perished when our brothers perished before the Lord. Who just perished before the Lord? Well, that's a correct statement. However, they're talking about the 250 elders that just got swallowed by the earth or consumed by a plague because they were grumbling against the Lord, right? So why have you brought the assembly of the Lord into the wilderness that we should die here, both we and our cattle? I swear it's a repeat of Exodus 17. And why have you made us come up out of Egypt to bring us to this evil place? It is no place for grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink. Are they where they're supposed to be going? No. But what is where they're supposed to be going? The land flowing with the milk and honey and huge grapes and big pomegranates, right? Exactly what they just said this place has none of. Well, if you'd quit grumbling about it, you'd get there, right? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? Can you hear that? But 2.5 million people saying that? Hey, hey, hey. I'm going to put you over there by that rock. Then Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the entrance of the tent of meeting and fell on their faces. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the staff and assemble the congregation, you and Aaron your brother, and tell the rock before their eyes to yield its water. So you shall bring water out of the rock for them and give drink to the congregation and their cattle. What's different about that statement than what we saw in Exodus? Right. Right. Now, there are theologians that argue which staff is he carrying. Some say it's his staff, the one that turned into a snake, and some grumble that says it's Aaron's that budded. Right? Well, we know that the staff of Aaron is there because in the future it's going to be put into the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? All right. So here you go, Moses. Go up to the rock and say, give me water, right? Talk to it. You think he's going to do that? If it worked once before, it'll work again. It's the way we've always done it, right? Watch what it says here. It says, then Moses and Aaron, at the end of the meeting, the Lord spoke, take the staff, and there it is. And Moses took the staff from before the Lord as he commanded them. Then Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, hear now, you rebels, shall we bring water out of this for you out of this? Something didn't work there. Hold on. Hear now, you rebels, shall we bring water for you out of this rock? Who is he talking about when he says we? Shall we bring the water? That's the right answer. But a lot of people read that because it's him and Aaron gathered the assembly together. They say, well, it's him and Aaron doing it. No, they don't bring the water forth. God does. So Moses and God. Moses is not putting himself on the same pedestal as God. It's not what that means, but it's one of those little sticky points that people have. But it says, and Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock. That's not what God said to do. So what do we call that in here? What kind of move is that? That's a bonehead move, right? So when Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock with his staff, not just once, twice. And water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their livestock. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, did y'all do what I told you to do? No. God said to them, because you did not believe in me to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people of Israel, therefore you shall not bring the assembly into the land that I have given them. That's where Moses and Aaron lose their ability to enter the promised land. Now, a lot of others have already lost it, right? But here, he did not do what he said. Yeah, but that's just it. That's yeah. Right. What is it, 19 or 13? That's what it says. These are the waters of Meribah. Meribah means quarreling, arguing. So that's the waters of Meribah means the waters of quarreling. That's what it means, because he didn't do what God told him to, and he struck the rock twice, right? Where the people of Israel quarreled with the Lord, and through them he showed himself holy. Now I'm going to switch gears real quick, and we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Because why is it important that we know about this rock and this water? Well, how could it ever be associated to what we know about, right? So 1 Corinthians chapter 10, first few verses here. Come on, pages, turn. You're all. Yeah, exactly. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 10. This is Paul sending a letter to the elders in Corinth. Remember, Corinth is a bad town, but they've started a church there. We just talked about it last week. As a matter of fact, this Sunday we'll spend time in Corinth, and we'll find that being called a Corinthian is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. But here we go. So, for I want you to know, brothers, that our fathers were all under the cloud and all passed through the sea, right? That's the cloud that led them out of Egypt and protected them. Walked through the Red Sea as if on dry land. And all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, meaning they fell under, what's the matter? All right. Y'all just have to trust me when I'm saying, read it for yourself, right? I apologize. That phone does weird things. And all were baptized into Moses in the cloud, which means that they were part of the old covenant. That's what that means. And all ate the same spiritual food, which was what? Manna. That's right. And all drank the same spiritual drink. What's that spiritual drink? That's the holy rock water. Right? Holy rock water. For they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was, Christ. Now, hear how we put this into our lives. Moses went to the rock to get water. Jesus says, I am the living well. Anyone who drinks from me will not ever thirst again. This is the same rock in Numbers chapter 20 that he hit in Exodus chapter 17, and he had to hit it twice. But if we believe in Jesus, we don't have to do that. Now, there's more to that story. Listen to what it says here. It says, nevertheless, with most of them was not pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Well, they still weren't doing what God told them to do, right? So now we'll go back to Numbers chapter 20, and I hope the phone will actually do this. All right, I apologize. Silly phone. Yeah. All right, where am I? Oh, y'all don't know. 14. All right. So then it says, Moses sent messages from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Good cheese, right? Now, what is the king of Edom? Who is he a descendant of? That's a good answer, but no. I'm going to take it back a little further than that. Do you remember who was the father of Israel? No. That's Father Abraham, yes, but who is the actual father of the tribes of Israel is Jacob. And who is Jacob's brother? Esau. Do y'all remember the story? The angel came and said, you have twins in your belly, and there will be two nations fighting. That is Esau that came out first, the red hairy one, right? That was a good hunter. And then Jacob, the small, petite one that could cook well, huh? The mama's boy, right? Who cooked a good stew, and when his brother Esau came in from the field saying, I want something to eat, he says, sell me your birthright. Remember this story? We went over it in great detail. Well, guess what? Esau, from his chain, is the king of Edom, and the Edomites are descendants of Esau. So the warning to Jacob was, Esau shall serve you, but will always have strife against you. So now here's the descendants of Jacob sending a message to the king, which is a descendant of Esau. Here's what it says. It says, thus says your brother Israel, talking about Jacob, right? Jacob's name is Israel. You know all the hardship that we have met, being that they had similar roots, right? How our fathers went down to Egypt and how we lived in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians dealt harshly with us and our fathers. Well, that's true, right? 400 years of slavery. course, the Israelites don't remember that at this moment. They just want to go back there now, right? So brought us out of no. And when we cried to the Lord, He heard our voice and sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. And here we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your country or your territory, right? So He's sending this message ahead saying, look, we're right up here next to you, okay? It says, please let us pass through your land. We will not pass through field or vineyard or drink water from a well. We will go along the king's highway. I'll come back to that. We will not turn aside to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed through your territory. The king's highway is actually a road that you can still walk on today. Now, it has been done over and over and over again. The Romans used part of it, and when they had the territory, okay? So you can still see some of their stuff there. But this was a main thoroughfare between the south of what we call the Arabian Desert, and then all the way up through the north into all the way into Jordan, right? It goes all the way up through there, right? It says, please let us pass through. We won't do any. We won't eat from your field. We won't drink from your well. We won't turn left or right. It says, but Edom said, thou shalt not pass. Oh, no, sorry, different one. It says, but Edom said to him, you shall not pass through, lest I come out with a sword against you. Again, the strife between Esau and Jacob, right? And the people of Israel said to him, we will go up by the highway, and if we drink your water, I and my livestock, then I will pay for it. Let me only pass through on foot, nothing more. But he said, that's the king of Edom, said, you shall not pass through. And Edom came out against them with a large army with a strong force. Thus, Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory, so Israel turned away from him. I'll pick that back up in a second. It's the easiest way to get to Canaan, right? Like I'm just using this as an example. Going from Spring City to Oliver Springs, you're going to come through Rockwood. But if you don't, what do you have to do? Say that loud and proud. You have to go around. On a motorcycle, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you're walking, it's horrible, right? In the opposite direction. That was the Harley commercial when they were in Alaska, I think. Anyway, so here they are, this 2.5, 3 million people that they've got to go, and the guy won't let them come through his territory. He brought an army and said, you ain't coming through here, right? So they got to go around. And then it takes another strange turn here. So here is verse 22. Sorry. And they journeyed from Kadesh, and the people of Israel, the whole congregation, came to Mount Hor. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron at Mount Hor, on the border of the land of Edom, He said, let Aaron be gathered to his people. Now, we've seen that term before. He shall be gathered unto his people. Do you remember way back when Abraham died and he wanted to be gathered with his people? He wanted to be taken back to where that's what that meant. That term in the Old Testament, gathered to his people, meant he died. All right? So Aaron now has died. Okay? That's the two older ones. That's Moses' brother and sister. Okay? Remember they grumbled against the Lord not long ago? That may have been 37 years ago, but not long ago in the chapters, right? Said, I've lost my place. I know I'm right here. Let Aaron be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter the land that I have given the people of Israel, because you rebelled against my command at the waters of Meribah. Because Moses didn't do what he was supposed to do, God says that's why Aaron will not enter. Now, Aaron's no choir boy. He had his own problems. He was just grumbling against the Lord not long ago. And the mystery golden calf, right? So there's a lot of things there. But then it says this. Now this is kind of interesting how God uses that. He says, "Take Aaron and Eleazar his son and bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son." What garments? Yeah, you got it. You're right. Remember, he's the high priest. The hat and the shoes and the apron and the jewels, right? Have the names of the tribes of Israel on it, and the Urim and Thummim, which the way we understand it is the way they could get the voice of God to tell them what to do. They're like dice. They throw them, and whatever it says tells them what to do, right? Now we'll lose the sight of them pretty soon. As a matter of fact, we don't ever see them throw them again. But take them up there and let Aaron's son Eleazar put them on, right? And Aaron shall be gathered to his people and shall die there. So there you go. Aaron will be gathered to his people, meaning he will die. Moses did as the Lord commanded, and they went up Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain, and when all the congregation saw that Aaron had perished, all of the house of Israel wept for Aaron 30 days. Now, I saw a lot of different commentaries on that. We here in America, when someone passes, how much time do we get off work? A week, maybe 3, right? Whatever. Or 3 days, whichever one. Depends on who you work for, right? There are countries that when you lose a loved one, do 30 days like the Bible says here, because that's not the only time that's mentioned. I was trying to remember which one it was. It's one of the Middle Eastern countries. You're off for about 9 months. They think that we Westerners rush our grieving process. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. By just doing it a few days. Now, you watch when a king perishes, or when the Queen of England perished recently. They lay in state for weeks at a time. They don't rush theirs, right? That's a sorrowful time. It's a mournful time. But here in America, we seem to they want you to get over it and move on. Well, that's for the crown. It might be for show, but they're not the only ones that do that. I mean, but it's kind of interesting that this chapter ends with them saying, "And they grieved for Aaron 30 days." That's just a very interesting piece of that whole puzzle there, right? All right, so we got plenty of time. Let's go on a little bit. Chapter 21. It's part of it, at least. It says, when the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who lived in the Negeb, heard that Israel was coming by the way of Atharim, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. Because they had to go around Edom, this is the way they chose to go, and it didn't work out in their favor. And Israel vowed a vow to the Lord and said, if you will indeed give this people into my hand, then I will devote their cities to destruction. They're pretty upset about what's happening, right? And the Lord heeded the voice of Israel and gave over the Canaanites, and they devoted them and their cities to destruction. So the name of the place is called Hormah. And Hormah, I can't read this, means destruction, right? No, it's not talking about Hormel either. Yeah. So then it says, from Mount Hor they set out by the way to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, and the people became impatient on the way. Imagine that. They want to start complaining again, right? And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food, there's no water, there's not even a rock now. I add that part, but you understand. And we loathe this worthless food. Then the Lord has got to be getting impatient about that. I mean, just completely, right? The Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many people of Israel died. And the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people, and the Lord said to Moses, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole. And everyone who is bitten, when he sees it, shall live. Okay, so imagine, if you will, an 8-foot tall pole, and on the top of it, you're going to see that Moses beats out a brass snake and wraps it around the pole. Does that sound familiar to anybody? That's the symbol we have for U.S. Medical, is the staff with the serpent. That's where it came from. Yep. So Moses made a bronze serpent and set it on a pole. And if a serpent bit anyone, he would look at the bronze serpent and live. Well, that's pretty cool. That's anti-venom just by looking, right? Now, when we look to the cross to save us from our detriment, you can compare that back to what this was. All they had to do was look at it, accept it, right? Healing by faith, that's right. For by faith are you healed, are you saved, not by, okay. Through grace, not by your own works. Couldn't get that out. And the people, back to verse, 10? And the people of Israel set out and camped in Oboth. And they set out from Oboth and camped at Iabram, in the wilderness that is opposite of Moab, toward the sunrise. From there they set out and camped in the valley of Zered. From there they set out and camped on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that extends from the border of the Amorites. For the Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Therefore it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, Waheb and Sabah, and the valleys of Arnon, and the slope of the valleys that extends to the seat of Ar, and leans to the border of Moab. And from there they continued to Beer, that is the well of which the Lord said to Moses, gather the people together so that I may give them water. Then Israel sang this song, spring up, O well, sing to it. The well that the princess made, that the nobles of the people dug with a scepter and with their staffs. And from the wilderness they went on to Matana, and from Matana to Nahali, and Nahali to Bamoth, and from Bamoth to the valley lying in the region of Moab by the top of Pisgah, that looks down on the desert. Another point that just came to me from the last verse, I told you Miriam was 126 when she died. Aaron died the same day. How old was he? He's 123, is what the historians are saying, right? That actually becomes important as we get further into this, okay? So now they're from the wilderness, they went out through all these places. Now they're at the top of Pisgah that looks down on the desert. Then Israel sent messages to the Sihon king of the Amorites, saying, let me pass through your land. We will not turn aside into field or into vineyard. We will not drink water from the well. We will go by the king's highway until we have passed through your territory. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through its territory. He gathered all his people together and went out against Israel to the wilderness and came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel defeated him with the edge of the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, as far as the Ammonites, from the border of the Ammonites was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel settled in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and in all its villages. For Heshbon was the city of the Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, as far as the Arnon. Therefore the ballad singers say, Come to Heshbon, let it be built, let the city of Zion be established. For fire came out of Heshbon, flame from the city of Zion, and it devoured Ar of Moab, and swallowed the heights of Arnon. Woe to you, O Moab, you are undone, O people of Chemosh. He made his sons fugitives and his daughters captives to the Amorite king, Sihon. So we overthrew them. Heshbon, as far as Dibon, perished, and we laid waste as far as Nopah. Fire spread as far as Medeba. Whew. Sometimes I think the names of cities in our country is hard enough to say. So they're taking over land, but they're still not in the promised land. And if you follow these locations out and keep following them down through the generations, Israel doesn't have any of that anymore. It's all gone. It belongs to somebody else. There are many wars that we're going to fight over this land that does not promise them by God. Okay? Last few verses here. It says, Thus Israel lived in the land of the Amorites, and Moses went up to spy out Jazer, and they captured its villages and dispersed the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against them, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. But the Lord said to Moses, Do not fear him, for I have given him into your hand and all his people and his land. And you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon. So they defeated him and his sons and all his people until he had no survivor left, and they possessed his land. So instead of going the easy way up through the land of Edom, they had to go around and fight all the way up. Now God was with them and carried them through most of these battles. Now these battles will get worse and worse as we go on, okay? But you can see still, even though they are grumbling against Moses and God, that they want better food, they want water to drink, they want less work hours, they want more vacation time. You know, these are the things that they're grumbling, and he just keeps letting them. How many times do we do, and how many times do we grumble? Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go all the way out to the church from the house. It's so far. Now, these are the things I fight, especially every Sunday morning. It's just because it's the way we are. But we know there's a purpose. There's a direction. There's things we need to do. Moses knows it. Moses knows it. Moses knows it. But yet even Moses has problems. Now, we haven't seen it yet, but the end of Moses is coming. And there are those of the theological doctrinal societies that say it was the same day he died that Aaron and Miriam died. But they've already left where they were. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that can understand all that. But Moses also wrote Deuteronomy. We ain't even there yet. That's next. That's the 5th book of the Torah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. What was that? Sing it. I couldn't hear you. Okay, just tell me the words you were singing. That's fine. You did good. Yeah. So she was just finishing that, and I don't remember very much after that either. So it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings. Yep. But the new application that I told you guys about Sunday, I know a bunch of you have already started using it. Makes it so easy to find it because you hit Bible and the list comes up. You just you click on which book you want to read, which chapter, which verse. I love it. And like I said, I've been using it for years and years, and I'm finding out more about it now because I can see how the church can put things in there, like the plan that I'm following. You guys can follow it, or we as a church can put things in. But there's supposed to be a way that I can put like a church bulletin in there. We've already put events in there. We've got one in there for now, but so all that stuff is in there, and it's all free, and it's right there on your phone that you have with you every day anyway, right? I'm going to get some people upset here. How much time during the day do you sit with your face on the phone? I was looking at you, Jamie, not her. I'm just saying, you sit with your face on the phone anyway. Why not do it watching the Bible? Having it read the Bible to you. All right? Yeah. That's fine. They're not mutually exclusive, so. But yeah, the app is wonderful. I love it, and I'm glad that you guys are starting to read along. And it's an easy way. I sit right there on the back porch every morning with my athletic greens, trying to be healthy, and reading the verse of the day, and then my devotional for the day, which you guys can see which ones I'm on. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Then I may say, go to the New Testament and read me the letter to Philemon, or Philemon, some people say, right? And just sit there and listen to it. In some of the versions, they have multiple voices that can read to you. And I was showing a couple of people the other day, ESV has a voice that speaks, a decent voice, and then a voice that sings the verses to you. You want to talk about hearing something cool? Let that thing sing to you the book of John. It's just amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hello. Yeah. All right. Any questions? You'll have to tell me who that is because I can't remember. Oh yeah. In the Chosen. Yeah, that would be cool. I would imagine that there are some of the versions that have actors reading the parts. Mm-hmm. Mm. Cool. All right, then we'll leave it there with the death of Miriam, the death of Aaron, and the people being chased out of Edom and going up through all these other places and taking over. Exactly. Because they had to do it themselves. They wouldn't trust God. God would have defeated them, the Edomites. Bonehead move, that's right. All right, then we'll go ahead and turn this off and do our personal and private prayer request. We'll see you guys Sunday morning, 11 o'clock for Acts, I think it's chapter 18. Don't forget, Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. is Recovery Beginnings, and then next Wednesday, back in here for chapter 22.